Welcome. Every member who is working through Pathways has their own curriculum and the lessons and projects that they're working on in their path. Somebody needs to keep track of all the progress that people are making in Pathways to assure that they get the recognition. And Pathways calls those people base camp managers. For the most part, the vice president of education in the club is the base camp manager. But the president of the club and the secretary of the club also have access to the base camp manager functions in case the vice president of education is not available. In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the most basic things that the base camp manager has to do in order to do their job effectively in giving people the credit that they need to get in Pathways. If you're a base camp manager, when you open up your Pathways, you will see an additional button on that middle rectangle called Login as Base Camp Manager. The button Go to Base Camp opens up your path and your curriculum, but if you log in as the Base Camp Manager, you can do the administrative tasks that the Base Camp Manager requires. One of the most important tasks that a Base Camp Manager has to do is to approve people's requests. For example, if somebody finishes level 1 of their path, they will submit a request for you to approve it. They don't get official credit for it until you approve it as the Base Camp Manager. So over here on the left, this button, Pending Requests, is maybe the most important thing that you have to do. If you click that button, it brings up a screen that will look like this to view the pending requests. Now, it happened that at the time I came to this screen, nobody had a request outstanding. Every request that had been submitted had already been approved. So I can't show you how to actually approve it, but you'll see the request that somebody has. For example, John Smith has a request that you approve the level 2 completion for the innovative planning path. And you can click a check mark saying, yes, that's approved, or you can click an X saying it's not approved, and you can put some comments in as to why. But let's assume that it's been approved. So now Pathways knows that John Smith has completed level 2 of the innovative planning path. Pathways knows that John Smith has completed level 2, but Toastmasters doesn't know. The Toastmasters website has been around for a long time, and it's where you go to tell Toastmasters that somebody has completed an educational requirement, and they should get recognition or get a certificate or get something for completing that requirement. When Pathways came along in 2017, it was all set up on a completely different website. So the Pathways website and the Toastmasters website don't talk to each other yet. Maybe someday they will, but right now they don't. So you have to tell Toastmasters that the person has completed a particular level in Pathways. And the way to do that is to go to the Toastmasters website. You have logged in as your ID, and it knows that you are the VP of Education or another officer in the club. And where you want to go, and you should have learned this in your officer training, is to Leadership Central. So Leadership Central is the area to go to, and when you click on Leadership Central, it brings up a screen that shows all different kinds of things you can go to look at. But the one you want to look at most all the time is called Club Central, where it's information about your club. So click on Club Central, and this is the top of that page. To give an education award to a member, you choose the option, which is second from the top on the left. It says Submit Education Awards. If you click on that, it will bring up a screen that says Select the Member. And so you'll select the member of the club to whom Toastmasters should give the recognition. If you are the person who's to get the award, you can't give an award to yourself. So one of the other officers will have to do that. But here you can select the member. And once you've selected the member, then will appear Select the Education Program. Toastmasters knows which awards a person is eligible for. For example, in my case here, I have not completed level 1 of the Engaging Humor path. So level 1 of Engaging Humor is the only choice that's available to me. I can't give the award for level 2, 3, 4, or 5. They don't even show up because Toastmasters knows that level 1 is the next one for me. Once you've selected the member and selected the education program, click the button that says Review Award Submission, and that will give you just a review, and you say, go ahead and approve, and that will let Toastmasters know that a person has completed an award. For example, if somebody completes level 1 of the Dynamic Leadership Path, they will now have the designation DL1, for they've completed level 1 of the Dynamic Leadership Path. Remember, all of the paths have 2-letter names, and so Presentation Mastery would be PM. If you completed level 3 of the Presentation Mastery path, you would now have the designation PM3. Here's another tip for Basecamp managers. How do you know whether there is a request to be approved? Remember, you have to click on the button that says Pending Requests. How do you know without looking if there are any pending requests? And you know because a message is sent to the club. Where does that message get sent? If we go back to Leadership Central and go to Club Central, we can see that up at the top of the page is Submit Education Awards, and further down on the page there's the club contact and meeting information. As an officer, you have access to this. You can go to the contact and meeting information, and it shows a website, Facebook page, phone number, email address. This email address that's specified as the email address for the club is where a request will get sent if somebody completes a level and submits a request to be approved. It gets sent to that address. What also gets sent to that address is if somebody comes to the Toastmasters website and says, I want some information about this club. Maybe they're new to your town and they want to see what Toastmasters clubs are around. So they go to the Toastmasters International website. It says, find a club, puts in your city, and it lists the clubs, and they click on your club. And if they want to send a message to the club saying, hey, I'm new, tell me some information about your meetings, this is where it gets sent. Sometimes this email address is the email address of the president of the club. Sometimes it's the address of the VP of membership of the club. But messages are going to get sent to this address for several reasons. So what I recommend is that you set up this address to be a club address, not one of the members' address, be it a club address. And Gmail is a good place to put it. This particular club is club number 4547, Speakeasy Monterey. That's the name of the club. So we set up an email address, speakeasy4547@gmail. Then we go into Gmail and we say, Gmail, if you get a message, forward it. And we forward it to the president, we forward it to the VP of membership, and we forward it to the VP of education, all three. So if a message comes from a new person wanting to find out information about the club, the VP of membership will get that message and can respond. If somebody is submitting a request for approval of a level of pathways, the VP of education will get that message and they can sign in and process the request and approve it. And the president gets these messages just to make sure that the other people are doing their jobs. So this is a small point, but it's an important point, because if this is an individual member's address, you may not be sure that the right people are getting the message. So I encourage you to set up an address for the club and then go into Gmail or whatever you need to go into to forward it to the right people.